Hey guys, Sammy7 here, and today gonna be doing a bit more of an organized video, I guess. Last video on MW is kind of just riffing and getting all the frustration out there, which was definitely needed. But in this video, I'm gonna talk about a bit of a mix of things here, and it's gonna be some positive, some negative, mostly just like big topics in the game, I guess, and most notable things that I can think of after having played it for quite a bit for the last almost week or so, getting pretty close to a week. So to kick things off, I want to talk about the maps, because the maps are surprisingly something that I don't think I mentioned at all, or maybe to a very small extent in the last video, which is funny because that might be the most frustrating thing about the game to me, and I just feel like I didn't really touch on it enough. So I want to go over that a little bit. Little bit in depth here, and try to really delve into my thoughts on the maps. So I honestly, this is gonna be like the most negative part of the video, by the way. I'm getting it out there, starting off with it. The maps are probably my least favorite aspect of the game by far. I genuinely think these are some of my least favorite COD maps of all time in general. Like, even the maps that I like, I don't really like that much. That's just the way I feel about them. And this kind of applies, for the most part, to all modes. I think the 6v6 maps pretty much only work for S&D, and even then it's kind of like, eh. I think that the 10v10 maps, this may be an unpopular opinion, I'm not really sure. Even with Euphrates Bridge, I think the 10v10 maps are the best maps in the game. Those are the only maps that I actually find myself enjoying. I think Raid is decent. I think that, what is it, like Arkhov Peak or something like that? I think that map is actually pretty good. Aside from, there's one entire lane of that map that's basically like useless, but other than that, I think that map is, like, the rest of the map plays pretty well. And then of course Bridge is in there, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way this game is, right? You can't strike 100% here. That's just the way it is. But anyways, I think that the 10v10 maps are probably my favorite, even though 10v10 isn't exactly my favorite mode, which is just kind of funny. I think 6v6 maps are just, like, for the most part, not enjoyable at all. And I think that the Quarry Ground War map is pretty fun, but I think that the District Ground War map is just not, I don't know. I just do not like the way that map plays at all. And if you actually try to play the game, and play the objective on that map, you're just going to have a bad time. The only way to have fun on that map is to camp like a little bitch on a rooftop and just not move and not play the game. So, you know, that's just great. If you like playing like that, cool. But if you don't, that map is terrible. That's just kind of how a lot of things go in this game for the maps. I want to talk about the gunfight maps a little bit in particular. Or one last thing in general, or like two little things here. I think that the maps in general, like, one problem I have with the map design is they heard the criticism like, oh, just no verticality in these COD maps, and they went way too hard with the verticality. I think the Ground War map district, which I was just talking about, is a really good example of that. Just way, like, an excessive amount of verticality on that map. I think they took that criticism and just went way too hard. They heard, like, oh, these maps need more verticality, and they're like, verticality, all right, we'll give you verticality. 24-story buildings on every map. I don't know, it's ridiculous. Another quick thing is I don't know, I just think there's too many, like, there's too many weird angles in this game. There's too many crosses, too many corners to watch on these maps for the most part, to the point where a lot of the time you just kind of have to guess on these maps. I feel like a lot of the time, even when I get better at them, even when I learn them more, I still find myself in a lot of areas in the maps where it's like I'm kind of just guessing here and hoping I don't get shot from this angle. I'm just going to watch these other two angles or something like that. I feel like that's the case a lot of the time. And also just a lot of clutter on these maps. A lot of clutter on these maps a lot of the time. It makes it really hard to see in a lot of cases. With all the, like, unnecessary stuff on these maps, just makes it really hard to see. And that's also a problem of player visibility in general. I think the player models themselves need to stick out a little bit more, but the maps also do not really help. So let's go into the gunfight maps as well. The gunfight maps I also have issue with. The gunfight maps, I think, are for the most part just a little too, interestingly enough, a little too simple. Which is kind of funny, because my complaint for the rest of the maps of the game is kind of like, I think these maps are just, like, too much. And then for the gunfight maps, it's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the gunfight maps are just like lacking. Like a lot of the gunfight maps are just like watching crosses off a spawn, and that's about it. Which is just, I don't know. There's not a lot of room for map movement in the gunfight maps, for free map movement. And yes, they are small, so like I get that. I get that those maps aren't gonna give as much room for it in general, but like still, I'm saying like still, even taking that into account, there's just not a lot of room for it. I think the gunfight map that I have the most fun on, that I would like to see most of them designed like, is actually the speedball map. I really like the speedball map because you can get on top of stuff on that map, but it's very risky. There's lots of cover, lots of cover placed throughout like the entire map. You can really move around it in cover the whole time and move around it practically and smartly, and it just plays out really fun. I really like the way that map plays out. It gives me, I think, the most freedom of any of the gunfight maps. Even with there's a lot of crosses on that map too, but even still, there's so much cover that it just kind of balances out. So I would like to see most of the gunfight maps made like that speedball map. I think that one is genuinely really good. Like that map is actually genius. The rest of them, I don't know, man. Like not all of them are that bad, but not all of them are that great. I don't know. The rest of the gunfight maps are just kind of iffy on. I think Showers is just like a little too simple. And pretty much just comes down to shooting across spawn most of the time. I think that the what is it called, docks, I don't really enjoy with shotgun or sniper rounds, which for some reason just only happen on that map. What's the one called? I think King is okay, and I think Stack is just kind of boring, and Hill is terrible. I might be forgetting one or two there, but that pretty much gets the gist of it out there. I think Speedball is the only gunfight map that I think is genuinely like really good, and I would like to see other gunfight maps, if they make more in the future, designed like that map. I want maps like that. Verticality that's there, but very, very risky. Just lots of cover placed throughout. You can actually feel like you can move around that map, even with the amount of crosses on it, so you could still get information, but you could still feel like you can move. I just really like that map. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have to say for the gunfight maps. That's one more little thought. Like last thing I'm just gonna say on the maps before I move on. Piccadilly might be the worst COD map I've ever played of all time, and I mean that. I really mean that. It's awful. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, I want to talk about the guns a little bit. I think the guns are probably like the highlight of this game. I think the gunplay and just the way the guns feel is amazing. It genuinely might be like the best in any game that I've played. I really mean that. The guns feel great. Are they perfectly balanced? No, and I hope they'll work on that throughout the game's life cycle. But just in general, like the way the guns feel, I really enjoy, and I think they did a really good job with that. Like sound and movement wise and everything combined, the look of them too. It's just really, really solid job all around. Particularly for the balance issues, the only ones that I really want to point out is the double barrel shotgun is really annoying, and the M4 is definitely a little strong. I've seen some people be like, oh well, the M4, it's really not like that great. There's this gun that can compete with it and this gun that can compete with it. But the thing is, like, all the guns that can compete with the M4 all have like some major downsides, whereas the M4 is just like the god gun. Like you can do everything with the M4. You could really do everything with it. You can build it for any loadout. You can use it as an AR. You can use it as a sniper. You can use it as an SMG. Kills so fast up close, basically a shotgun. You could just do it all with the M4. You know what I mean? Like at least with the double barrel, you're not killing people across the map with the double barrel. The M4, every sniper I see when I'm playing with the M4, I literally just challenge them every time. I just fly at snipers because you can with this gun. There's no reason to use a sniper when you have the M4. So that's just the way it is. I would like to see that gun tweaked a little bit, and hopefully other guns as well, but we'll see how it goes. In general, I do like the way they feel, though. I want to talk about the gunsmith customization a little bit for the guns. I think this is one of my favorite features of the game as well. Is it perfect? No, definitely not. But I definitely think that the gunsmith has brought some of the like creativity into creating classes back a little bit. I think that there'll definitely, don't get me wrong, there'll definitely be some setups that people sort of like settle on, and we'll probably see like a lot of repeats at a certain point. I mean, it'll probably get to that point, but like for now, I enjoy that it's something new. I enjoy that it's brought some of the fun back to create a class. Like the last few CODs, I feel like I find the thing that I just think is just clearly like the best, then I don't really tweak my class that much. And that's still kind of the case with like the perks in this game, but at least with the weapons, I feel like that there's some tweaking going on there that I'm sort of constantly working at right now. Whereas with like I said with the previous COD, it's like, oh, ICR, you know, I'm gonna run that double grip. What was it? I don't remember what I ran with it. Double grip like FMJ? It was double grip FMJ and something else. I can't believe I already forgot. I definitely ran the other option. Quick draw, that was it. Double grip quick draw. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to run that. You know, why would I run anything else? And then on this gun, I'm just going to run iCal 2. Of course, I'm going to Black Ops 4. But this kind of applies to like all the previous CODs for like the last few years. This game, it actually feels like you can kind of tweak it around. And you can get pretty creative with it. And you can really build a gun to your feel. And there might be some unique setups that just, I don't know, sort of take people back, I guess. It's like, wow, I didn't think you would combine those attachments, but it actually works really well, and stuff like that, and I think it's fun. There are some negatives to it, though. I think the biggest issue that I have with it is that there's a lot of inaccurate information from people that have been, like, testing the attachments and stuff like that. There are a lot of pros that aren't actually pros. Like, they'll say a gun does something, and it actually doesn't. There'll be times where it'll say it improves ADS speed, it actually makes it worse. And for some reason, there's a lot of like just bugged attachments like that. I don't know what is necessarily going on there, but that sort of sucks. Another thing too is I wish it showed exact stats. I wish it showed numbers for players that really want to get into it. I think that for casual players, the pro-con thing is enough. But I think it'd be cool if they included the numbers in there for the people that really want to like delve into it and know like exactly what's going on with their gun. I think that'd be really cool. And also just a lot of unexplained terminology. There's a lot of words that if I didn't like look up what those terms meant in the gunsmith, I wouldn't know because the game doesn't really explain it to you, and it's just kind of confusing. Like aiming stability and recoil stabilization and recoil control, like all these things that just kind of sound very, very like similar to me, didn't really make sense what they were until I looked it up and found somebody that, you know, like figured out what they meant essentially. So the game doesn't really do a good job at explaining those things, and I could see the gunsmith being confusing for a lot of new players just because of that, just because there's all this terminology that isn't really explained, and they're just kind of like, well, I'm putting attachments on, I don't really know what it's doing to my gun, and stuff like that. So I definitely think that they can improve on that a little bit, add a little like tutorial for it or something. I think that'd be cool, because right now it's definitely a little raw, I guess. Okay, so moving on to, I want to talk about camos and customization. I love the amount of camos in this game and the look of them in general. I think this is definitely the best. If you're like a camo grinder guy, this is definitely your game. I love the diverse set of camo challenges. I like that it's not all headshots and like the same stuff that we've been seeing in the past. I like that there's a good mix of things that you can do that can earn you the different camos. I think that's pretty fun. Really enjoy it so far. I think the charms are pretty cool. It's unfortunate that they make your hipfire accuracy worse. I don't really know what's going on with that. Must be a bug, I guess. But yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. But they look cool. I'm just not going to put them on my gun until they fix that. I think that the stickers for the weapons are cool as well. And definitely like the stickers and the calling cards and all that stuff seems to be, in general, like improved at Black Ops 4. At least just in my opinion. I don't know if there's necessarily more of them, but the look of them and stuff like that seems to be better overall. I do, and the sprays as well, I do kind of miss the custom emblem creator. That is definitely a huge missed feature here. Kind of pretty sad that that's not in this game. That's something that's always like really fun in COD, and definitely sad to not see it here. 5-letter clan tag is cool though. Just a little thing, I guess. And I think that about sums it. That about sums it all up for like camos and customization. I want to, at the end of this video now, I want to talk about things that I think could, some changes that could really improve the game. So I'm just going to kind of rapid fire these. I would like to see them go back to score streaks. Instead of it being a perk, I would like to see just score streaks across the board. I really don't like, and maybe switch it up. Maybe like bring score streaks back by default and make the perk change it to kill streaks. I think World War II had that actually. I think that'd be a good change. I think that the kill streaks are definitely a big factor in why this game is so. I think everybody that's played this game knows that this game has a camping problem. I think everybody agrees on that. And if you don't, you're just not playing the same game. Like I really don't get it. I just don't get it. But this game for sure has a camping problem, and I think that going back to score streaks could help that. Is it going to fix it? Not necessarily. A lot of things are going to have to go into, going to have to be changed to fix it, but I think that's something that could help for sure. I think that lowering the footstep volume across the board could definitely help. I think that would be nice, because you kind of just have to, especially like S&D and stuff like that, you kind of just have to sit and watch an angle until you get dead silence, and then you can move, and it's just kind of lame. I would like to see footstep volume just lowered across the board. I think that'd be great. Definitely way too loud right now. I would like to see sprint out and ADS times just slightly lowered, just a little bit across the board, not by a lot, but just by like a little bit, and I think it'd be in a pretty good spot. The reason I would like that is, yes, there are attachments that can improve that stuff right now, but with the pace that the game is played at, I don't know. I'm not really sure if it's like too worth it right now, if that makes sense. And I don't know. I think it would feel better if the sprint out times were lowered a bit across the board, and maybe encourage people to move a little bit more, along with the ADS times as well. I think the compass sucks. I don't know why they separated the compass in the mini map. I would like to see the red dots and have it be all combined back into the mini map, and just bring that back to the way it was. I don't know why they had to change it. I would definitely like to see that go back to the way it was before. I think it would encourage more movement as well. If you want me to give like the reasoning on it, I think that red dot chasing, I never understood where or when this became like a thing that was criticized, but I don't really have an issue with it. You know, if you have an issue with it, run a suppressor, or use it to your advantage. You know, if people are chasing red dots, you can really catch people off guard, and like use the camping to your advantage even more so, and it gets people to move. So I don't know. I don't have that big of an issue with it. I would like to see all streak and vehicle audio just literally across the board lowered by like a lot, by like 50%. I absolutely hate just how loud everything is in this game, and I think that's something, this is like the camping problem. I think that's something that pretty much everybody can agree on, that the game's audio definitely goes a little too hard, and it just gets, I don't like having to constantly tweak my game and chat audio balance when I'm playing with people in this game. And I don't like when I'm like having a conversation with one of my friends, and then it's like, oh, the game is starting, or someone just called in a streak. Can you hold that thought real quick? Because you have to have your audio turned up loud in this game so you can hear footsteps, but you turn it up loud, then you can't hear anything else, because of just the way everything with the streaks and the vehicles and the gunshots, even just how loud everything is. Maybe just like effects volume as a whole should just be lowered, because I've tried lowering the effects volume in the settings, and it just hasn't made much of a difference. Everything is still super loud, so I don't know. The last thing that I want to touch on is player visibility. I think players are still kind of like hard to see in this game, and that's another thing that contributes to the camping. There's a lot of like dark corners and stuff like that where people are really hard to spot, and like I said, with the clutter in the maps and stuff like that, I think the character models need to stick out a little bit more in this game, make it a little bit easier to see, and maybe that would help people move around a little bit, not encourage them to camp, because right now there's a lot of places, really good places you can hide and be really hard to see, so it's like, why not just hide? Last little thought, I guess, because I kind of just, this isn't even something that I planned, I just kind of thought of it. I actually, so far, well, I think I mentioned this, but I so far think the challenges are pretty cool. The way they work with like the new leveling system seems pretty cool, and I've been enjoying working on those challenges. So I think the last one I might have said that I wasn't really sure. It seemed like a cool concept, but I wasn't really sure how it would work out. So far, now that I played a little bit more, it seems like it's working out pretty well. I'm having fun with it. But again, like once it's like a full season, we get like how it works as a whole, then I'll have a better opinion on that. Okay, so that's about it for this one. I'll definitely do more, and there'll be more of this for sure. There'll definitely be more videos like this. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, and let me know what you think could be, that you like, dislike, things that could be improved, and stuff like that. Things you would change with this game. I'm very interested in it, because I'm very like torn on this game right now. I really like this game, and I really hate this game. So I don't know. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. I was cracked that game. Holy shit. It's some pretty good damage. If the last guy wasn't weak, I wouldn't have one-tapped him from that far.